Hello there. I am Ambassador Cliff Ayozie, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to Mbaise USA Decides. Today on the program, we have another personality that is seeking to occupy a special position in Mbaise leadership. And today, I have the privilege to introduce this personality. But before then, I'll be working with a lady you are familiar with, somebody that has continued to make her mark in all her chosen field, Dr. Namso Noma Opara. Pleasure, Nama.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you, sir.
Our guest on Say USA Decide is no other person other than a vice presidential candidate who occupies the position of Director of Technology at present, and also several times, about four times, chairman of Mbaise USA National Convention. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure to welcome Honorable Bethels Agomuoh, who is also the Vice President of Morgan Stanley Corporation, an IT guru in that sense. So it's my pleasure to welcome you, Bethels.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I'm sure you will speak up a little more because people would like to hear you somehow. Talking about the man Bethels, let's try by having you tell us who is this Bethels. I know that some people might have one impression of you or the other. So, who is actually Bethels Agomuoh?
Thank you, Ambassador Cliff and Dr. Nonso Apara. It's a pleasure to be here. Bethels Agomuoh was born in Nigeria by way of Lodge Inwekuku Autonomous Community in Mbaise local government area of Imo State. I'm married with two beautiful children. I'm married to a wonderful woman whom I call my shock absorber. Been married for the past 17 years now, happily married, live in Kenya, Agomuoh. That's my shock absorber. I'm currently gainfully employed with Morgan Stanley. I'm into technology. I'm into filmmaking as well. That's another side of me. I'm comfortable making films. And I love community service.
Well, having met you, right, from your perspective, let's start by looking at the position you want to occupy before we look at your track records and, of course, give us insight into what has happened in the past. Uh, the vice presidential position is one that is close to the president by simple definition. But our constitution appears to be a bit silent on what responsibilities that you could carry out going forward. What is your own take on it? What is your perspective? What is your own perception of that position? And what do you look forward to bringing on the table?
Yes, the Constitution is silent on the roles of the vice president. Not really silent, but it's not fully defined as to what the vice president can or cannot do, except in the absence of the president. However, that's not the way I see the office of the vice president. The vice president complements the president. Okay, the vice president ensures that the president does the right thing at the right time. The vice president ensures that whatever the president is doing, that he supports the president wholeheartedly. And when the president is not doing the right thing, pull him back and say, we're not going the right direction. And the vice president is another ear of the president. He's another arm of the president, another leg of the president. He ensures that where the president is faltering, he pulls the president back and ensures that the team works as a body, as one body. The vice president is not just someone who sits and listens to what the president says. He's somebody that should be able to have the ear of the president and the ear of the association. He should garner as much respect because in the absence of the president, he should be able to step in and do the needful. So it is a very, very crucial role, a very important role in any organization.
Well, until recently, the position of the vice president has been one that in the past the president and the vice hardly agree. And that in kind of painted a picture of a lot of conflict between the president and the vice. What would be the right qualities of a vice presidential candidate or a vice president in an organization like Mbaise USA?
So if you have a president and a vice with the same goals and aspirations, there should be no problem. So sometimes we have a president, we have a vice who is so um, who wants to take over from his president or from his principal, and when you have such a president, there's bound to be a problem. Okay, but if you have a president and a vice with the same goal, making sure that the organization moves forward and they understand each other, they respect each other, there is mutual respect and understanding, there's no reason why there should be a problem. Only when you have two people with two different ideas and two different agendas, then that's where you're going to have a problem. And the last president, well, the current president and vice president have worked so well together. Probably the first that have been together without squabbles in the history of this organization. And it is simply because these two individuals have the same goal, the same aspiration, the same trajectory, and they're looking for the same thing, and that is the success of this organization. So we have a vice president and the president that's looking for the same thing, the success of the organization. There should be no reason for squabbles.
I'm sure Nanso will want to follow up from here.
Thank you so much, Honorable, for being here. It's a pleasure to have you,
Thank
and
you.
thank you for answering the questions so wonderfully so far. I have two questions for you. The first one is, what attracted you to agree to be the vice president of Mbaise USA? You have been a huge part of Mbaise USA for the last few years. Where was Mbaise USA when you started? Where do you see Mbaise USA now? And where do you think your office or your administration can take Mbaise USA if elected? So the first question is the attraction. Why did you agree to do this? What is it about Mbaise USA, considering your pedigree? What is it about serving Mbaise USA that is attractive to you? Secondly, where was Mbaise USA when you started? Where's Mbaise USA now? And where do you envision Mbaise USA being in the future under your administration if elected? And I have a backup question once you answer this, if you don't mind.
Sure. Thank you very much for that question. First of all, let's talk about the attraction. Okay. My attraction is what I've seen in NBC USA. My attraction is the trajectory. My attraction is the future that I see in NBC USA. That is my attraction. I've seen NBC USA as a conduit to something way, way better than where we are today. Okay. NBC, the population of NBC in the United States have not even been, we haven't tapped into the population of NBC in the United States. Okay, now if we tap into half of the population, there is nothing we cannot accomplish in Nigeria. Now, the political spectrum in Nigeria or in Imo State is not been favorable to Mbise. Okay, does that mean that we're going to allow Mbise to just wallow and fallow? No. It simply means that collectively as individuals, we can build Mbise. Okay, we can build Mbise by coming together and saying, no, this is our community. This is how we want our children, our children to see Mbise. Okay, so we don't want to leave Mbise the way we met it. We want to make sure that when we're no longer here, someone can look up and say, oh yeah, when he was here, he was part of this movement. When she was here, she was part of this movement. Okay, that we talk about Mbakwe today. Every time you talk about growth and development in Imo State, you mentioned the name Mbakwe. It is because Mbakwe left a legacy, a lasting legacy. Okay, and sometimes you're not really remembered by how much money you made. You're remembered by the lives you touched. You're remembered by the number of people that you touched while you were here. And what Mbakwe put together is still touching folks up to this day. So the attraction is being able to touch a lot of people even when they're no longer here. Okay, as for where I see Mbise in future, give a reason why we cannot have a call center in Mbise. I've traveled in the course of my job And I've seen smaller communities with call centers of major corporations in the US. And I ask myself, why can we not have something similar in Mbaise? I see a time when we're going to have a call center in Mbaise. That time is very close. It is not impossible. Okay, Medville project is one of the very few projects that we're attracting to Mbaise. Okay, there's going to be a lot more bigger projects coming into Mbaise. So I see in the next 5, 6, 7 years or 10 years, I see a call center in Mbaise. I see a technology hub in Mbaise. It is not impossible. You dream and you work towards the realization. So at this moment, we are dreaming. We're hoping that Mbaise comes with us to say, okay, let's get these dreams actualized. Let's get these dreams. Let's make these dreams a reality. So as a vice president of Mbaise USA, I believe that you can use Mbaise USA as a conduit to what we're trying to achieve. Okay. And that is one, having a call center in Mbaise where we can employ as many Mbaise sons and daughters as possible, having a technology hub where our children who are delving into technology can come in and say, this is my own. And then we can begin to export technology out of Mbaise. It is not impossible. And Mbaise USA is just a perfect conduit for that. Yeah, Mbaise USA is a not-for-profit organization, does it not? But it doesn't mean that we can't do big things. It doesn't mean that we cannot exploit. It doesn't mean that we cannot talk to corporations. Okay? I have seen communities from Senegal, from Kenya, talk to corporations, sit down and have a discussion. And they say, oh, we'll open up this hub in this community just because a not-for-profit organization in that community approached these corporations. So there's nothing wrong. As a vice president, I'm going to make this promise because I know exactly how to talk to the people that can make these things happen. Okay? So, and from when I joined Mbaise USA to now, what has happened? It's been a leap. And anyone who's been in Mbaise for the past 10 years can attest to that. Okay, I started with Boston. And when Boston had their convention, our brochure probably used to be maybe 50, maybe 100 pages. And the question was, were they even collecting the funds? Because there was no system of collecting the funds. It was difficult. Okay, but when I came in, I ensured that if you collected a page of that brochure, you paid for it, else you were not in that brochure. And not only that, technology is something that allows you to make things easier. Okay, we had a system that was not being used. When I came in, I ensured that folks could go online, upload your photograph, pay immediately. You didn't have to call anybody. And suddenly we have 350 pages of brochure last convention, or 349 pages, which equals to $30,000. Accounted for, that went straight to the bank account. Nobody collected cash from anybody. So from when I started in Boston to now, it's been a leap. Okay, and the team that's been together doing this, pushing this, is a team that has the same dream, the same goal, the same aspiration to continue to grow the organization, to a point where Mbaise can say, I am proud to be called an Mbaise person. I am proud to be part of this organization. Is it a perfect system yet? No, it's not. Will it ever be perfect? Heck no, it will never be perfect. Are we going to continue to try? Definitely.
Oh, well, Bethels, you really preempted some of our follow-up questions, so to say, talking about technology, because we see that the world is evolving, and where is Mbaise in that picture? You try to give insight into that. But you talked about technology, and we have the registration you've talked about. That brings us to, say, the conventions that we have. We had one in Dallas. You've had two others before the Dallas zone. For the fourth time, you are the chairman of the National Convention Planning Committee. What really would you point to as your biggest drawback or challenge, organizing conventions,
Um,
especially looking at Dallas and the lessons from it?
The biggest challenge the convention team has had is our people and our culture. We have a culture of lateness. Even the North Carolina convention, we're begging folks to register on time. But do we do that? No. We always wait for that last minute. And now, the question I've always asked anybody who cares to listen, if you don't register on time, how does the chairman of the convention or the convention team accurately plan for the number of people attending the convention? Almost impossible. So what we've done, we have a system where folks register, we look at the number, we say, okay, there are 600 people coming to this convention. We can double the amount, okay? We either do 40% or 50% addition to the already registered and hope that folks will have 50% more that will come and register at the gate. So what happened in Dallas was our culture and the way, the lackadaisical way our people treat events like conventions. Because if folks had registered on time, maybe we would not have had the issues we had in Dallas. And that's number one. Number two, there were quite a few folks who came in, did not even care to register, and what still wanted to get into the hall. Okay. In Dallas, when you look at the number of registrations and the space allocated to us, we were nowhere close to maxing the space. Nowhere close to maxing the space. Official registration was about 605. The hall was about 805. Yet we maxed out the place. Where did everybody come from? Where did they come from? So now it makes it difficult sometimes for those planning the convention to project the number of folks that are coming to the convention. And as you're planning the convention, you don't also want to over budget. You don't also want to say, oh, I'm going to have 3,000 people. And then suddenly you have 1,000 people. You would have spent unnecessarily. So planning the convention is give and take. Okay, we've tried everything possible to make sure that our people enjoy when they get to the convention. Are we perfect? No. Is anybody going to be perfect? No. Are we trying? Definitely. And it's not just about the convention team. This is about every Mr. person who wants to come to the convention. Do your own part. Your own part meaning register your children, get the brochure on time. That way we can better plan for the convention.
Honorable sir, I
Yeah.
have a backup question. Thank you for that. But you know what? I will hate to play the devil's advocate. I will not totally exonerate you and your planning committee on what happened in Dallas. Somebody will say you and your team, especially I'm saying you because you were the planning chairman. You know, with our people, there will be times that you need to be firm. Someone can tell you there were people that said that tickets were still being sold as of the few minutes before, a few hours before we were kicked out of the hall. There comes to a point where we have to be firm with our people. We need you to register. If you don't register by this time, you cannot register. I remember that morning I was helping you out and someone wanted to register his children while we were there before they went out to the trip. That would be time. I know I begged you that day, so I'll take some responsibility for that. But there has to be a time when the planning committee will have to stand on their 2 feet and say, you know what, the registration is closed. And we're going to invest money in making sure that our security is tight. If you don't register, you're not going to come in. We have some cocktail outside for you. You can have cocktail, but you cannot come inside the hall. And I have to also say, living in Dallas and participating in activities in Dallas, Dallas is a place that has a lot of Mbaise sons and daughters. The hall where we had the event was quite small. It wouldn't even fit Dallas, Mbaise people in Dallas, not even one Mbaise organization in Dallas. But that's by the way, that has happened. I would like for you guys to take some responsibility over what happened, and then of course our cultural practices also contributed. What processes now have you put in place to ascertain that what happened in Dallas will not happen again in South Carolina. I called somebody the other day. We were having a conversation about something, and then I asked the person if she was going to attend North Carolina next month. And she said, "No, I don't want to be kicked out of the hall." So, what have you guys put in place to one, make sure what happened in Dallas doesn't happen again? Secondly, try to change the narrative and attract more people to the North Carolina convention.
Thank you
Sorry,
very much.
I don't mean to attack you, I promise.
No, it's okay. It's okay. The buck stops with me, and I take the responsibility. Even though every decision that's made about conventions is made by a team. Okay, it's not one person deciding this is where we're going to go or this is where we're going to go. Every hall was vetted, and there are different reasons why we do certain things. There are different reasons why we take certain spaces. For Dallas, by the way, we didn't have just one hall. In the past, we would have one hall that will accommodate everybody, the young adults and the children. But in Dallas, the children were in a different hall, the young adults were in a different hall. And I work with statistics. Okay, when you look at the numbers, statistically speaking, of the registration, you can't say, oh, I'm going to get a space for 3,000 people, because it's never happened. You can't say, I'm going to take a space for 2,000 people, because it's never happened. So even what we did in Dallas was supposed to accommodate the Dallas crowd. But I'll take this back to you, and I'll say, even our Dallas brothers and sisters did not even register on time. Even on that day, the entire Dallas registration was not more than 260. The entire Dallas population. So when folks say to me, "Oh, the Dallas is huge. Dallas has a huge population of Mbaise," I'm like, where were they? Where was this Dallas crowd? When I'm looking at my numbers, the numbers that should guide me to make proper decisions, where were they? The number was telling me something different. Ask Cliff, 3 weeks of the convention, I was afraid, because the numbers were not telling me what I was hearing about Dallas being the hub of Mbaise. Now, if you're the one making these arrangements and planning this convention, you've been given $150,000, $100,000 to plan this convention. Now you're afraid that you're going to cook for folks that won't be there. Now you're afraid that you're spending Mbaise's funds, and someone's going to come back and say, "Idiot, you spent this fund and there was nobody in the hall." So at the end of the day, whatever decisions were made, there were reasons why some decisions were made. So we didn't just pull up decisions from the air. Now, North Carolina is going to be a totally different ball game. First of all, the space that we're renting in North Carolina can take as much as 3,000 to 4,000 people. And I'm hoping that we max it out.
Okay, let me follow up on that, Bethels. You're talking about the North Carolina convention, having explained out what transpired in Dallas and what lessons you are taking away. What kind of programs do you have you think that should excite people into coming to North Carolina? Because you have a big hall, you have 4 hotels already secured, and the first one has run out. What kind of package do you have for people from the very first day? Because I hear about a lot of things you have on the table. So how would you enlighten us along that line?
First of all, I just want to say that the North Carolina team is stellar. Our brothers and sisters in North Carolina are doing a wonderful job. Okay, for the first time, we're going to have picnic during the convention. Okay, so we're not keeping folks in the hotel this time around. Okay, folks are going to go out, mingle. Matter of fact, this has been engineered by the younger generation, the youth. They're the ones saying, "Hey, come on, let's have a picnic." I'm going to that picnic because I really want to excel. Okay, so the first thing we're doing in North Carolina is this picnic, which is being engineered by the younger ones, and that's the beginning of the convention. You go there, you go through your picnic, you enjoy, you come back, you take a shower, and then of course the Friday night, you know that the local chapter, they are ready to feed us. We have our Bible coming live, so There's going to be Abibu coming live. So we're not. This is not somebody miming. This is a Bishop Abibu who's going to be there. We have, of course, our legendary Gorgie. You know what happened in Dallas last year during the Gorgie ceremony? The Gorgie ceremony has become one of the highlights of our convention. It is when you come and show how proud you how proud of Mbaise you are. Okay, and then of course there's going to be a warrior memorial service. Okay, so for those who don't know, it's 25 years of warrior's death, and we're trying to memorialize warrior. He's our one of us. He's our own celebrity, our own Bob Marley. You know, warrior put Mbaise on the map. Okay, so there's going to be karaoke standing somewhere. So if you can sing any warrior song, you probably win something by just doing a warrior song. So there's going to be a station where there's a karaoke station where you can go sing as much warrior song as you can and take photographs with a life-size warrior photograph or warrior statue. And then the main event. Something we're trying to avoid this year is a situation where you call everybody to the high chair, because we realize that that takes a lot of time of the actual event. So we're trying to make sure that the younger ones identify those who are going to be at the high chair. We're going to pre-print the names of those who are going to be on the high chair, put their names where they're supposed to sit, and when they come in, our ushers are going to majestically usher them to their tables while the MCs announce their names. So we're probably going to have just the chairman and the president of the association being ushered in. So these are things we're putting together to make sure that the convention is not classy, it's smooth, and folks enjoy and dance at the end of the day. And then of course, in terms of security, what happened in Dallas is not going to happen to us in North Carolina. Okay.
How about the workshops you talked about? Because you
Oh,
talked a
thank
lot
you.
about
Thank
technology.
you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now that's dear to my heart. Okay, so we're partnering with Cisco. For those who are into technology, you know that Cisco is one of the biggest technology companies in the world. So we're partnering with Cisco Systems to present AI. You know, AI is ruling the world. So there's going to be a workshop on AI. There's also going to be a workshop on grant writing. So we have one of our sisters who is into grant writing. Those of us who own foundations or community associations probably don't know how to harness grant writing applications or how to even write a grant. So hopefully after this workshop, we're going to be able to write grants. And then I would really encourage everyone to register for this workshop, especially if you're a young one, an adult or a retiree, and you're looking to change career, you're trying to figure out whether you need to change career, or even if you own a business. Okay, even if you own a business, you want to understand how AI can help you enhance your business. So convention is no longer a place you come and you dance and you leave. So we're also adding other things to the convention. That way, when you leave the convention, it's a total package. You're fulfilled by the time you get home.
Now, sir, I know you want to come in here before we go into other areas.
No, sir. Thank you, sir. I am quite impressed, and I know that under your leadership, the convention will get a lot better. So we look forward to North Carolina, and we hope to have a better time. Hopefully, we'll have enough food this time because historically, food has always been a problem for BC USA events, food and seat. We are looking forward to going. We don't have a lot of family members in North Carolina. We hope that you have enough food for us, and
Can we talk about
and not
food for a
mix
minute?
and make the food available to everyone and not selected group of people.
Can we talk about food for a minute?
Please.
Well, first of all, I can tell you this, that
Briefly,
our brothers and sisters in North Carolina are doing a wonderful job. They are making sure that everybody who comes to that convention is fed. But I'm also going to talk to my NBC brothers and sisters, wherever you are. Make arrangement for food. My chapter New York, okay, we're going to make arrangement to make sure that our people somehow get fed because we pay $100 for this convention. and for 4 days, and we want to feed 2,000, 3,000 people on the same $100. So Mbaise USA is doing extra. We're being extremely frugal and economical and making sure that our people are fed. But sometimes people travel, they leave the convention ground, and by the time they come back, there's no food. They blame the convention team. So there are different reasons why people say there's no food.
Yeah.
Okay. And but we're going to try everything possible to make sure that everyone is fed. But
Yeah.
if you travel out and you come back,
Well, if you guys can please make available some numbers of caterers in North Carolina, because we are not going to take food from Dallas to North Carolina. But if we have numbers of caterers around the area, we can definitely get in touch with the
that's a
story.
good point. That's a good point, and I'll take that to advisement.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Bertels, let's look at this election year. In July, we're having an election. I want you to look at issues, the way it's building up. You know that maybe it appears a bit polarized because of divided interest and people who wish to be in positions of authority. Looking at the work of the electoral committee, what will be your take? The way started, the way they started, and where they're headed. Are you sure or guaranteeing that we are likely or going to have a free, fair, and credible election with a level playing ground?
First of all, I need to commend the electoral committee members. These are men of integrity. These are people that I can take to the bank any day, anytime. Okay. When you talk about people like Dr. Pato Noha, Chris Onyebado, Tony Ben Inacho, I'm not sure the other person there. I mean,
Mr.
these are,
Dozier Waller.
oh, of course, these are people that you can't, you go to sleep when you have these people as the electoral committee members. You go to sleep.
And the lady among them, Chidimma Wosu.
Of course, look at these names. These are people that were handpicked to ensure a free and fair election. I mean, just mentioning these names should actually tell everybody go to sleep, because these people are not either they're non-partisan, and even if they have their own interests, it's not going to come into their job, into what they're doing. These are people that I've spoken with on a personal level. I've spoken with these people on professional level, on Mbisen level. These are people that if I were to hire anybody any day, anytime, I would hire these people. So and as for Mbisen being polarized, see, I'll say this: every time there's been an election, for those of us who have been here for a while, it's always like that. And there are a few elements who inject this polarization where it should not be injected. Okay, and this is not an Mbisa thing. It's a few individuals who feel that they have to say certain things to certain people to score cheap political points. And the question I always ask anybody who's running for office: is this a selfless service? Is this a community? Is this community service? Because there is nothing personal to gain. Nothing, zero. You're expending your own resources, you're expending your talent, you're expending your time. And at the end of the day, I want to call you my brother, regardless of what happens. Win or lose, you're always going to be my brother. I mean, I didn't fly from somewhere and find myself in Mbaise. I was born in Mbaise. It will never change. So Mbaise USA election should not be as polarized as it is right now. Should not. There's no reason for it. Because this is simple community service, nothing more. So if anybody feels that this is his way to some political position in Nigeria, nah, lie. No, it's not. This is just a way of saying, in my time, I helped move Mbaise from here to there. Anything more than that is an embellishment. So
No,
for
so
the
let's have,
plural,
we'll just
yes,
have 2 minutes more. Let's get Nanso in before I get you to say your parting words.
Okay, it's two questions because they, Mr. Ambassador Cliff might not give me another opportunity to ask another question, so let me get these two in.
We're just
As we
rounding
all
off,
know, your position is an elected board position. What happens if you don't win the election? Are you going to be open to working with the people who won the election? If you win the election, are you going to be working with people who did not support you? Because right now there are many people that may or may not support you. So if you don't win the election, are you going to work with people that don't support you? If you win the election, are you going to work with if you don't win, would you work with the people that won the election or that win the election? If you win, would you work with the people who did not support you? That's one. Secondly, what do you say to the people who who are saying that the the former board chairman, the current president of Mbaise USA, the vice president of Mbaise USA, and the former president of Mbaise USA, who are having all these squabbles right now, that they were considered as one group or people that are in the same alignment before they started having the issues that are having right now. What makes you think that your relationship with these people will not go as sour as their relationship with each other right now? I think you know where I'm heading with the question. How do you assure that in the next 3 years we will not be back here with you being on the totally opposite side with your current proposed principal and your subordinates? Because we've seen that play a lot in NBC USA.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a very good question, and I've seen it play out. But here's what I'm going to say to you: nothing is assured in life. Okay, nothing is assured. But let me say, USA is not a political association. Win or lose, it doesn't change anything. Win or lose, it doesn't change anything. The goal is to build Mbaise. That's the end of it. And honestly, you don't really need a title to be able to build Mbaise. You don't have to be a president or vice president or board director. No, you don't. If you're serious about building this association or building business, you do not need a title. And I've always said this to anybody who cares to listen. Just come out there and do what you need to do. And Mbaise USA will recognize you. Mbaise Nigeria will recognize you. So it's not about title. And as for what would happen in future, I don't know what would happen in future. But I'll make you this promise. I'm not one of those people who make enemies just because of Mbaise USA. It's not in my DNA. It's not my style. But if you're one of those people who want to bring Mr. USA down, I may not be your friend that much, but you will still be my brother. And that's a huge difference.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bethels. On a last note, let's look at one area that is very important because we have the executive, the national executive, and we have the board of delegates. And more often than not, people talk about separation of power, checks and balances, the way it plays out. Some think the synergy between the board of delegates and the national executive is one that is, I don't know, too close for comfort. What is your take on it?
So I'll say this: a political system that works in the US may not work in Nigeria, right? Because we have a totally different culture. Now, between the board and the executive, if there is friction, nothing moves forward. But if there is a synergy and control, Mbise moves forward. And that doesn't mean that suddenly the board doesn't know the limitations. That doesn't mean that the executive doesn't know their limitations. It simply means that, hey, listen, we have a project. Does the board approve the project? If the answer is yes, we'll move forward. Okay, but you don't want a situation where there is a project, and because the board chairman doesn't like the president, he sits on it, and that stifles the growth. So it's very important for us to have a cohesive body, a cohesive relationship between the board and the executive, and not a situation where the board is going one direction, the executive is going one direction. Mbaise USA suffers at the end of the whole thing.
Okay. Well, I think that's where we're going to call it off, but we'd like to get your parting words, having taken you through this very part for this long while. So, what is your words to Ndembise as we look forward to this election and, of course, the convention?
Yeah, thank you very much. And then we say, Biko, Honorable Bethels Agomuoh, at the end of this election, we're going to be brothers and sisters. Okay? Please come to North Carolina as a brother and a sister. No animosity, no acrimony. Regardless of who you think is better from Bisen USA, do the needful so we can have a better Bisen. Do the run.
My God. So we don't have to come with bulletproofs, in other words.
There's no reason to come bulletproof.
Okay, just checking.
Well, on that note, we'd like to say special thanks to Honorable Bethels Agomuoh, Vice Presidential Candidate from Mbaise, USA elections in July, currently the Director of Technology, and of course, one of the Vice Presidents of Morgan Stanley. We thank you so much for being our
Thank you
guest.
very much. It's a pleasure.
And also, we thank you so much for those in-depth questions that brought out a lot of information to the benefit of our viewing public. Well, this program will continue some other time with another son or daughter of Mbise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for coming. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.